Thank you so much for joining us today for the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. Here on the Pastor's Potluck, it's similar to a normal potluck where you might get something that you want and there may be something that you just want to pass up altogether. And that's okay. There's something here for everybody. Our goal here is to encourage you and maybe in the process entertain you. If you're ready, let's dig in. Welcome to another episode of the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. This week we celebrated a big milestone for the country. You know, what is it, 249, 279? How many years? I don't know.
Since 1776?
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, happy 4th of July.
Yeah, I don't. 1776.
I don't math good, but what did y'all end up doing?
So the first half of the day was awesome because I laid in bed until 1 o'clock.
What?
Yeah, I wasn't sleeping, but I was watching Netflix, or I was actually watching Peacock, and yeah.
1 o'clock?
Yeah.
How long has it been since you stayed in bed till that late?
It's been a while.
Like years.
Like I didn't say
right?
it wasn't. I shouldn't say it wasn't continuous. I did get up and made me and Landon breakfast, and did some laundry, but. The part that I like about doing laundry is I can normally do that in front of a TV.
Yeah.
So, I had literally been neglecting hanging up our hang-up clothes for,
a hot minute.
a while. And then, where I was gone in Cincinnati last weekend before I left, I made sure all the clothes got clean.
Yeah.
And so I had even more, every clean piece of clothing in our house. And whatever needed hung up.
Yeah.
So I had a gigantic stack of mine and Megan's clothes that needed hung up. So I just took it back up to the room, put it on the bed, turned my TV show on, and got it all hung up. When that was done, I just got back in bed because the kids were doing their own thing. Megan was doing their thing.
Yeah.
So I did that till 1, and then we went to our friend's house in Ripley. Ripley has a big 4th of July celebration.
Yeah.
And they continue it back at the house, and so we went and did that. The kids got to swim a little bit, ate some good food, and then we went to Megan's Megan's aunt and cousin's house, which is what we do every 4th of July.
Yeah.
It's in a little town in Ohio, and they have a big parade and stuff. Now they're doing the parade in the evenings, so we went there. Kids got to swim some more, ate some more food, went to a picnic, and then when we got back to Charleston, we have a family from our baseball team.
Mm-hmm.
The dad does his own fireworks in this little community in Cross Lanes, and it's awesome. He does the big legit fireworks.
Yeah.
And you literally, when you're sitting out in this field, you're sitting under them. So when you it's really cool. We did that, went home, and went straight to bed since we had Bible study this morning. So
yeah.
So it was the first part of the day was so chill, and then after that, it was run from place to place to place to place until we got home and just crashed.
I didn't do anything remotely close to that.
Yeah.
We went to the other side of the hill because we live up there on the mountain. And so we went to the other side to where we could see the river and the Capitol where they pop all the fireworks for the end of Regatta or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great. There's not a lot of people because I don't do large crowds.
Yep.
Freaks me out for some reason. And we went swimming. It was raining. We went swimming, and then it rained, and we came home and relaxed for a little bit. I put on a crock pot of red beans and rice, so it's slow cooked all day, and kids loved it. It was legit good. Reminds me of home, Louisiana, where I was born. So good stuff.
Yeah.
I like days like that to where it's just there's no agenda. And we could just hang out. We want to go swimming, we go swim. We go watch fireworks.
I didn't mind the busy parts of my day, although the laying in bed watching TV was definitely
the highlight.
Yeah, as a introvert, that's my thing.
Yeah.
I have a wife and kids that are very extroverted and need to be with people, so I don't mind. I'm not like some introverts where it's oh my gosh, I'm gonna make everyone miserable. I'll tag along and enjoy my time, but
yeah,
laying in bed and watching. Like I've got a new show I'm watching, and it just, it's
What are you watching?
Suits.
Oh yeah, you told me that.
Yeah,
I need to get into that.
I've always liked crime shows, but it's always been like cops and stuff.
Yeah.
This is like the other side of it, like lawyers and such. It's very interesting, even though I don't know. Somebody could definitely correct me on this. The whole premise of the show is a complete like nonsense idea. Like you can't practice law in the state of New York without going to law school and passing the bar. And I know that they faked this degree and stuff, but it's that's just a nonsensical idea. Like you can't do that.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
No.
So like, yeah, you can't like fraudulently go to Harvard. So the whole show is based on a sham, but I get it. It works for the show or whatnot.
Yeah.
But like the whole legal side of it is very interesting because I don't really. That's like a world I don't know much about.
Yeah.
It's a lot of it's like corporate stuff too.
Yeah.
So like that's pretty cool.
I mean, we like the Marvel movies, and we tend to just say that's really impossible for somebody to shoot webs from their wrists.
So I'm glad you brought that up because this is my rule when it comes to that.
Yeah.
Like when it comes to superhero movies, whatever the rules are, just stick to the rules.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm fine with that. But like, so this is what happened to me. This is where the rubber met the road for me. I was watching the TV show The Flash that was out on whatever that channel
CW.
was. Yeah, CW was doing it. First season was awesome. I was totally in.
Oh, it was great.
And the minute that they introduced, I'm a Flash from an alternate universe, I was like, okay, no, that's not the rules of the first.
Yeah.
No, the rule is he's abnormally fast.
Yeah.
Stick with that, okay? Because I'm not going down this path of alternate universes, and so now there's 12 Flashes. That's stupid. I don't like that whatsoever.
Well, what did you think?
So I stopped watching.
What did you think about Endgame? Whenever they introduced, like the Avengers Endgame, and they had to go to all the different timelines to get the different stones, and what they said is they created all these different arcs, which is opening up all these different universes.
I was okay with Endgame. Just because there was a time stone, which helped alter the rules of the show for me.
Gotcha.
Again, so like Spider-Man shooting webs out of his arms doesn't bother me.
That's within the rules.
I signed up for it.
Yeah.
If Spider-Man starts like flying, I'm not going to watch. That's ridiculous.
Or he uses a grapple gun like Batman.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. Like, it's okay. Like, I understand we're watching fiction. I'm fine with that. But just stick to the freaking rules.
Yeah.
Like, don't say, oh, didn't know there was 3 Flashes. Oh, good Lord. That's the stupidest premise ever. And I know that everyone's going to that, like, multiverse thing now. I did think that that newest, I don't know if it's the newest, but I'm pretty sure it is that newest Spider-Man where they brought all the old Spider-Mans back was pretty cool because everyone's been like, well, there's so many different, iterations of Spider-Man. And then they kind of brought it all back and was like, oh, here's why, because they're all in different universes, which, again, I just think is a really lazy. Like, but, again, I didn't grow up as like a comic book person. Maybe this is how it's always been. But, like, Marvel, like, sucked us in with, like, normal movies and then, like, wanted to go off the deep end with, like, all these different universes and crap. Like, just stick to the movies. Like, the minute Batman, like, again, is shooting webs out of
his eyes.
The minute, like, something like that, I'm like, no, look, I'm not doing that. He's just a normal dude that has too much money and time. Like, that's the story. You stick to that or I will not watch.
Yeah.
Like, I'm okay with ridiculous stuff. So, like, with Suits, though, I'm like, this is just nonsense. Like, you're not going to, you can't get a job at a law firm without a degree, and they unless I slept through it, they never clear. How did he pass the bar without going to law school?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, he said he studied it. I saw the clip.
He's passed it before. He passed the bar multiple times.
Yeah.
But it never says that he went and, when did he ever go and do it for himself?
Yeah, I don't know.
It never happened, right? So it's like a totally nonsensical idea, but I get it. But past that point, like, the show is very, very interesting.
Yeah.
It's very funny, too, to me to see, even though I'm not, like, really into, like, famous people, like the Duchess of Wales is in that show. Meghan Markle is, like, it's when she's, like, young, is, like, in that show, which is, like, when she first started popping, I was like, that girl looks so familiar. Like, who is that? And then one of the episodes, there was a character I was trying to figure out where I knew them from, and I'm scrolling and it said Meghan Markle. I was like, huh. She's like royalty now, and she's like on this like just regular person TV show. Like, that's so funny to me. Plus, the girl from Blue Bloods is on there, the one that's Jamie's partner, which I love her character. Her name is escaping me right now, but she's on the first season of it, and it's just like, I don't know. I'm really into the legal side of it, like a lot. Although, like I said, the whole thing's a sham.
Yeah.
Like, it just would never happen.
Yep. Well, awesome. TV, 4th of July.
Dude, I
a
could
good way
talk
to start.
TV all day long.
I was feeling that just now.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, Scott must watch a ton of TV.
I do. I do, and I
The
justify it.
You just went on like a different TV
Yeah.
show I've never even heard of.
Which one?
I don't know. What is it?
Blue Bloods, you shook your head like you'd heard of it.
Oh, well, I'm just trying to make you feel good. I'm like, all right.
You haven't
keep
seen
it coming.
Blue Bloods? It's like the greatest cop show ever.
Better than Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't even get on.
So we're continuing our
I can't
conversation.
even get into Brooklyn Nine-Nine right now. I'm so angry with that whole crew. No, I watch a lot. I just consume a lot of content in general.
Yeah.
Like, whether that's movies, TV shows, books. But you have to if you do what I do for a living. Because if you don't, you're not going to be very good at what I do for a living.
Yeah.
Like, I know some people do it purely through books, and that's fine, but I've never been much of a reader.
Yeah.
Like, I'll probably read 8 to 12 books a year right now, but, like, I'm going to watch a lot of TV and movies, which helps storytelling. I like stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
Helps a lot with what I do. I'm actually, like, literally right before I came in here, I'm listening to, like, a 2.5-hour long interview with Mr. Beast that Colin and Samir did on YouTube.
Yeah.
Because I want to know how to make really great content. Because what he does is a different like, we both make content.
Yeah.
And it's really nice to hear him talk about how difficult it is when it feels like everyone in an organization is reliant on your creativity.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, now his is like vastly multiplied to, millions of people watching and over hundreds and hundreds of people relying on him, whereas I don't have that. But, like, knowing that he felt that same struggle, I was like, that's cool. So I just consume a ton of content. It's the way I can do what I do as good as I possibly can. And TV is a big part of it.
Yeah.
We should do a whole episode on TV. I'll give you the rundown.
The history of TV?
Yeah, but we got to be careful. The Pharisees don't, like, drill me for some of my choices.
Grabbing their pitchforks.
Yeah, they're like, can you? Actually, they'll probably already, if they, for any of the 2 or 3 that I've already mentioned, there will be someone that'll be like, I can't believe he watches that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Sorry, Pharisees.
Yeah, it's
I will
all good.
be perfect one day when I see Jesus.
All righty. So, actually, 2 stories that we're going to cover in our conversation today should legitimately be made into some sort of
They should make these movies.
Or into TV show, because these are some of
the whole book.
Some of the most outlandish or the craziest stories you will find inside of the Bible.
Yeah. I hope when The Chosen is finished with the life of Jesus that it would go back and do the whole Old Testament, like on the level and quality that they're doing the New Testament.
Yes.
Because the book of Judges would make such, like, if you could go and figure out a modern way to do the book of Judges in a TV series, it would play so hard. Like, because the book of Judges is nuts.
Yeah.
Like, it's nuts, but it's also, like, again, people think that we've graduated past this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, no. The same stuff that these fools were doing, 2,000 years ago, or actually probably closer to 3,500 years ago or whatever it was. We still have these human issues today. This would make an amazing TV series.
Well, I'm pretty sure, like, have you ever heard, like, whenever people talk about, like, how crazy Florida is? Like, I'm pretty sure if you put in Florida man drives railroad spike through the temple of his...
Yeah.
I'm sure that would pop up. Or, like, sword gets lost in large obese man.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure it's happened somewhere already.
These stories would make such good entertainment.
And I don't mean to laugh, but it's true.
Yeah.
Like, because, like, look, there's some crazy things that
Yeah.
happen in the
Well,
world.
we're going to start with the story of Ehud today. And,
Yeah.
like, this story, it's like, okay, look, it's in here almost like it's in here because it's true.
Yeah.
But it's also written in like a satirical way as to make fun of the enemies of God's people.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's not just some like when the Bible was written, it wasn't just like this like emotionless, like cold, like here's what happened. Like there's feeling behind it, and it's like the details that they put into the story of Ehud are so funny if you understand what's going on. They are so funny. Like I've preached this story twice in 7 years of preaching. That's a lot of Ehud, to be honest. Like
Yeah.
I don't know many people that ever preach about Ehud, let alone 2 times in like 7 years. Might even be more like 2 times in the last 4 years, because I love the story is so good.
Yeah.
It's so funny, but then what it points to, what it really is looking at, what it teaches us about God and about like just the world in general is also, it's so powerful. So
Yeah.
I'll let you give the synopsis.
Yeah. So this is what the Bible says. We're in Judges chapter 3. And so after Othniel, we covered him the last time that you were on.
Mm-hmm.
Israel is under captivity for 18 years. Okay? This is after Othniel.
Yes.
Israel cries out, obviously, because they're like, hey, we're tired and we're frustrated. They've rebelled against God. And obviously, we've seen this time and time again with the Israelites. Whenever Moses was in charge before the judges, it's God provides and he does something really well. And there's a period of time where the individuals in charge, and you'll see this throughout Judges, there's a large period where God is continually pouring out his blessings. And then that individual dies, and then it's just nightmarish.
It goes right back where it was. It's that cycle that we talked about last time.
Yeah.
It's God's people are unfaithful, so he lets them be overtaken by oppressors for their idolatry.
Yeah.
After a while, they get tired of living under oppression. They cry out to God. God sends a deliverer. Throughout the lifetime of the deliverer, things are good. And as soon as that leader is gone, they run right back to the idols that got them. And this is the cycle that you'll see over and over in Judges. But if we're being honest, this is the cycle that we live over and over as humans.
Yeah.
And that's why this is such good literature to read.
Yeah.
Is because it's like, you mean to tell me that these fools were doing the same thing that we still do today?
Yeah.
Yes, they are. Like, oh, you're in a rough financial place, so you cry out to God, and he comes through for you, and then you go right back and do the same stupid crap that got you into the financial situation in the first place.
Yeah.
And then you cry out again. Yeah. Like they do the same stuff over and over and over, and it cracks me up that modern people are like, we're so sophisticated, like we've graduated past that dusty old book. It's like,
no, you haven't.
No, we just do the same stupid stuff we did then, but now we do it with iPhones in our hand.
Yeah,
like that's the difference.
So they're still under captivity. Israel cries out to God. And, God, we need help, send us someone. And so God sends Ehud. And so during this time, it kind of gives you some insight because they're having to bring tribute to the king. And his name is Eglon.
Eglon.
Yeah. And the Bible describes him as a very large man.
My translation right here, as I just looked down, it caught my eye in verse 17. He presented the tribute to Eglon, king of Moab, who was a very fat man. That's a great translation, NIV guys.
I wonder what the message says.
This is the good NIV too. This is back before they messed with it.
Yeah.
He was a very fat man.
Yeah.
I love that.
And so I'm sure this is like a monthly occurrence where they're having to bring the tribute to the king. Hey, this is like, your cut of the money from everything that we've generated from the things that we're selling and harvesting and raising and all that other stuff. And so it's weird why they include like little details in this message too, because they say that Ehud is a left-handed man. Like,
Yes.
I don't know the significance behind that.
Yep.
But it's included, and I think there's a moment where Ehud has this revelation from God. He's just like, look, it's happening. And so what he does is he has a two-sided dagger that is created for him, straps it to his leg, and then he's like, all right, we're going to go pay our tribute this month.
Yeah.
And so what happens is that he goes in there and they pay the tribute, and he looks at the king and all the servants, and he's like, I've got this message from God that the king needs to hear. Like, just flat out lied to him.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe
He's
not
playing.
lying.
He's playing to the vanity of King Eglon, and really any ancient king,
Yeah.
because he's thinking, oh, God has a message for me, the king.
Yeah.
How honored and special I must be.
Yeah.
That's what he's playing to there.
And so what the king does is he sends all the servants out of the room. They lock the doors to the chambers that the king is in. And Ehud says, here's the message from God. Ha! And pulls out his dagger. He stabs him, right?
Yep.
And so my version that I read, it says the blade got lost in his fat.
Yep.
And so he let go, and the sword, like, it was just he was so fat.
Yeah, it was that noise right there.
Yeah.
And those are those little, like, you can tell that this was written in a way to completely humiliate that leader, to show, like, listen, Israel's God always comes through.
Yeah.
That's what it's meant to be. So I want to back up before we tell the rest of the story, because the left-handed thing, that is a huge, that is the whole story, actually. That's the whole reason why this story matters at all. The left-handed thing. Now, he was probably not actually left-handed, but had to use his left hand, which meant that his right hand was probably crushed for some reason, which made him disabled.
Okay.
And this is a culture that is even more cruel to disabled people than what our current culture is.
Yeah.
Like, to be left-handed in Hebrew culture meant for you to be cursed. Like, it was not a good thing to be left-handed, because remember, the right hand in the scriptures, anytime you hear the right hand, that's the hand of blessing.
Yeah.
Right? So everyone, whether they were actually born left-handed or not, they were right-handed in this culture. To be left-handed meant to innately be seen as weak, to be seen as less than everyone else. So this is a beautiful picture of this weak, handicapped Savior coming to save the day.
Yeah.
But it was through the weakness of Ehud that brought the victory over Eglon, and here's why. That double-edged sword that you talked about, it was strapped to, give me a second, let me find it.
I think it was his thigh.
Yeah, to his right thigh. And again, the Bible doesn't just add details for no reason.
Yeah.
It's strapped to his right thigh because you're going to use your left hand to access what's on your right thigh. Now, because everyone in that culture is right-handed, if there was any sort of pat down or search, they're not going to check the right thigh whatsoever. So all of this, the victory actually gets smuggled in because of his weakness. Here comes, by cultural standards, someone that's disabled, someone that is weak, someone that is less than, someone that's looked down upon, someone that, like, there's no way this left-handed guy is the savior of Israel. So he poses no threat whatsoever, and it's through the weakness that he gains access to actually bring victory over King Eglon. Because could you imagine if it was some big, beefy warrior type, and he goes, oh, I need to talk to the king by myself? They're going to go, nope.
Yeah.
You're not getting in here.
Yeah.
With that. And so it's because of the weakness that he's able to gain access to the king, and thus then he plunges the dagger into his fat, and then the text goes on. It gets swallowed up in his fat, and then his bowels release.
Yeah.
Which is so funny that the text, like, it. The Bible, the writer of the Bible wants you to know that King Eglon pooped himself. Like that's
Yeah.
what he wants you to know.
Yeah.
That like he loses, he dumps on himself. He's humiliated. The God of the Bible has humiliated King Eglon and his whole nation, because this is what happens when you go toe to toe with the God of the Bible.
Yeah.
Is you lose and you get humiliated, because not only are you humiliated because you douched yourself after you got killed, you're humiliated because it happened at the hands of a left-handed man.
A crippled man.
Exactly.
What is seen as frail and weak.
Exactly. Like, because this is a culture, I'm telling you, we're so cruel
Yeah.
to the disabled. Like, this becomes such an unbelievable story to see that.
Yeah, they would take like babies and stuff like that and just leave them on the outskirts of the city.
Yeah, they would
Like past
they just,
the city gates. And
yeah, they were not very kind to folks like this. Like, so that it was through the weakness though.
Yeah.
And so Ehud stabs him, dumps, whatever. Then he leaves. This is when the story gets even funnier,
Yeah.
because Ehud locks the door from the inside and is able to escape through a different route.
Yeah.
The guys standing outside the door believe that that Ehud is in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Because
No, Eglon.
yeah. That Eglon is in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Why?
He's taking a dump.
Because of what they smell.
Yeah.
Like that's what it has to be. Why else would it tell you that he did that? And then out in the hallway, the guys are going,
King's tearing
I think
it up
he's
today.
in the latrine. I think he's in the restroom. Why would those two things be there? It's because that's what's happening there. You're meant to know that.
Yeah.
After a while, it gets suspicious. It's like, wow, this is long even for him, right? So eventually they come busting in and find him dead there. But by this point, Ehud has been able to rush back to where he came from and rally the troops to come and bring about victory
Yeah.
over Moab.
Yeah.
But this is the significance. This is where the left-handedness comes in. Through weakness comes victory. Now, I'm going to guess that at just about the time that Jesus of Nazareth was arrested and beaten within inches of his life and then nailed naked on a cross, that the enemy was laughing at how weak he looked.
Yeah.
And had Satan known that it was through death that would come life, and it was through what looked like weakness that would come strength and victory, he would have never crucified Jesus of Nazareth. He would have never moved on people to do that.
Yeah.
He did not realize that Jesus was sneaking in victory through what looked like loss.
Yeah.
He didn't realize that strength was coming through weakness. And so there was another left-handed Savior that was responsible for quite the victory.
Yeah.
His name was Jesus, because through weakness comes victory. And that's what the story of Ehud is pointing us towards.
Yeah.
Is he's not going to be the last Savior that when you look at him, he doesn't look like much. Like Isaiah 53 says, he wasn't much to look at. The people didn't like him. It just paints this really, sad picture of Jesus as the man of sorrows and all of this. And he goes, yeah, of course. But I'm going to guess that the powers of darkness would have gone a different route had they known that what they were doing was actually playing right into God's hands.
Yeah.
Because life ends up coming through death. Through the weakness of death comes the strength of life. And that's what the story of Ehud ultimately teaches us. And through that, the death of Eglon, Israel comes and overtakes Moab, and they're freed again.
Yeah, and one of the crazy things too is like whenever what you see play out is that in these moments of obedience, whenever people are following God and listening to Him and taking to heart what He is asking them to do, there's these long periods where everything's going really well, and whenever the disobedience comes back around, it's still a relatively long set of time. It's over 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, or whatever.
Yeah.
but it's terrible and it's absolutely worse. But whenever you just say yes to what God is asking you to do, like Ehud, then they went 80 years up until the day he died.
Yeah.
Like everything was going well for them. And I just found that like super interesting, just reiterating the same thing that we've said earlier in this episode and what we said last week. It's just we see through the obedience that the rest of your life can be just something that's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, and then
but we hope that you don't have to like lose your sword in someone's belly or something.
Yeah. But then you see it if you go to chapter 4 verse 1, after Ehud died, the Israelites once again did evil in the eyes of the Lord.
Yeah.
So it's like throughout his lifetime, everything's good. And as soon as he's gone, they go right back to, like, all the dumb crap that they were doing. Like, this has to be so encouraging for people to read and to hear, like, oh, okay. So Israel has the same problem that I have. Mm-hmm. That after a while of things going good, we have a tendency to, like, revert and sabotage and go back to kind of what we've always struggled with, which for them was always idolatry.
Yeah.
It was always, chasing after foreign gods and such. And so right there in verse 1 of chapter 4, once again, Israel did evil in the eyes of the Lord. So the Lord gave them over to King Jabin of Canaan. So they do evil, they get oppressed. And this is what happens in our lives. Because this is part of that grand story of the Bible that most people miss, is that whatever you hand your power over to becomes in charge of you.
Yep.
Right? So when they chased after other gods, they got oppressed.
Yeah.
They got overtaken. And it's the same with us. If you give yourself over to money, money becomes your master. You give yourself over to sex, sex becomes your master.
Yeah.
You give yourself over to greed, it becomes your master. You give yourself over to lying, lying begins to master you. Like whatever your idol is that you're kneeling down at the altar of becomes your master. The idol always becomes the master. Whatever you worship holds the greatest weight in your life, so therefore it ultimately ends up in charge of you. Because of the way that we're made, as worshipers, we are going to worship something.
Oh,
that's the fallacy that most people have about, like, if they're an atheist or an agnostic or they're just like not about Jesus or whatnot, whatever their worldview is. That's the mistake that they make is, I'm not going to worship nobody.
Yeah.
I'm not going to worship anything. It's
Yeah.
like, no, you are. Because if you look at your life, you might be worshiping pleasure, you might be worshiping yourself, you might be worshiping your job. Because it's whatever has control of you is what you've been worshiping.
Yeah.
And that's what people miss. So they're not seeing, like, the whole grand scheme of all of this is that ultimately our unfaithfulness to God doesn't lead us further into freedom, which is the lie that I listened to growing up.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I always thought, no, I need to go have my own way because then I'll truly be free.
Yeah.
Well, that never happened.
No.
All I did was get oppressed by lust, by pornography, by drugs, by alcohol, by reputation. Well, like, I never found any freedom in all that stuff that was promising me freedom.
No.
Never. It only led to more and more oppression.
Yeah.
So it's like the choice of life has always been, who do you want to master over you? Since someone is going to.
Or something.
Who do you want that to be?
Yeah.
Do you want that to be your addiction? Do you want that to be your brokenness? Or you could choose to submit to God, who you're going to find is a much better master than anything else that the world has to offer.
Well, it's just like this. Like, the more and more, like, whenever someone first starts off with drinking, it's not like, okay, I'm a full-blown alcoholic. It's just something that's gradually happened over time, right? And so the same thing goes with Jesus. It's like, but whenever you're drinking, it begins to take over, like, other areas of your life. Mm-hmm. So the more I drank, the more that I realized that my friendship suffered, the more that I realized that, obviously my financial situation suffered. Mm-hmm. It was getting to the point to where it was affecting me working, even though I'm working in a bar. Yep. And so the same can be said that whenever you begin to serve Jesus and let him be the master and ruler over your life, the more and more that you get addicted to Jesus, the more and more that it begins to affect the other areas of your life, but and for the better.
Yeah.
And so if the more that I'm focused on Jesus and the more that I'm studying and learning about who he is and spending time with him, the more that I realize that, okay, well, it's affecting the way that I do my job.
Yeah.
It's the way that it's affecting the way that I go about my relationships.
Yeah.
It's the way that I parent. And all of those things seem to be getting better the more and more that I rely on Jesus to be in control of everything, because he's not only just, whenever you're addicted to something else, it destroys everything. But whenever you're addicted to Jesus, then it just blesses everything.
Yeah. There's a reason why Jesus tells us in the book of Matthew, "Come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest.
Yeah.
Take my yoke upon you," because it's easier and lighter than the other yokes that you're going to have.
Yeah.
Because you are fooling yourself if you think that you are living free from a yoke, period. So you have to choose who the better master is. I love this. This is like one of the most random things in Deuteronomy, right in the middle of the law. I don't know. Most people skip this crap because they're like, "Oh, it don't matter to me." No, look, listen to this, because listen to how Deuteronomy 15 is exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
It says, "If a fellow Hebrew, a man or a woman, sells himself to you and serves you 6 years, in the 7th year you must let him go free." So this is how if it was like indentured servanthood or whatnot. "And when you release him, don't send him away empty-handed. Supply him liberally from your flock, your threshing floor, your winepress. Give to him as the Lord your God has blessed you. Remember that you were slaves in Egypt, and the Lord your God redeemed you. That is why I give you this command today. But if your servant says to you, 'I do not want to leave you,' because he loves you and your family is well off with you, then take an awl and push it through his earlobe into the door, and he will become your servant for life. Do the same for your maidservant." Right in the middle of the law, God makes a provision that if a servant is happy with the master, that he's to be marked for service for life, because he has found a good master to serve.
Yeah.
Because we're all going to have to do that. When that master, when you decide that's the right one, why did he have them pierce the ear with an awl? Because the good master then has your ear. Like he's the one leading, guiding, speaking. Like I heard Jensen Franklin preach on this one time, and the message was titled "Giving God Your All."
Yeah.
Because, man, I'm telling you, you can fight this as much as you want. You're going to be a slave to something. You're going to be a servant to somebody. It's about finding the right master, and that's why Jesus says, "My yoke is easy, my burden is light. Come to me if you need some rest. You're tired because the other idols, the other slave drivers, they're heavy."
Yeah.
Ask anyone that struggles with addiction.
Oh, yeah.
How heavy of a slave driver alcoholism and drug addiction is. Ask someone with a porn addiction how heavy that yoke is around their neck. Ask someone that's cheating on their spouse right now how that feels. Ask someone who is a compulsive liar what it feels like to not know whether or not all the lies that you just strung together are eventually going to crumble one by one. Ask anyone that's living, by a different master how that's going for them.
Yep.
This is the reason why the world is miserable, because they don't realize that at the heart of humanity we are all idolaters, and we're just choosing to worship the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And what the book of Judges shows over and over and over is that whatever you end up worshiping and bowing your knee to ultimately ends up oppressing you.
Yeah.
And that's the story of humanity. That's actually the story of the whole Bible, is this story of that whatever you give yourself over to, ultimately, this is what happened with Israel all throughout their history, even past the book of Judges. When you get into First and Second Chronicles and Kings and Samuel, all these different nations that would come in and overtake them, it was always tied to their idol worship. They were
Yeah.
following after all these different people, and you can say this with really anyone that experienced any sort of exile whatsoever in the Bible. This is the reason why God ultimately comes in and exiles the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom of Israel at some point. It was all tied to exile or tied to idolatry, because idolatry always leads to oppression, which ultimately leads to exile, meaning being cut off from the blessing of God.
Yeah.
That's why you have to choose a better master.
Mm. I goodness gracious. I mean, I wish more people would listen to this thing. I really do.
I do too.
Because like some of the stuff that we talk about, I mean, yeah, we like to have fun and we like to goof off and we do all these things, but I think the way that you present the word and how God is speaking to you through it is there's going to be so much revelation that happens in people's lives, and they go, oh gosh, like that this is what I've been dealing with, like this is what I need to give up, or this is what I need to do. Like it just, for me, it just does not make sense whenever somebody hears it put that way, for them to go, well, all right, it's time to go, and like nothing happened. Like, how can you not be challenged?
This is what we
there's
talked
like
about.
some little things that I struggle with.
Yeah.
But like as soon as I leave here, you don't think I'm just gonna put on my stinking headphones and just like start worshiping? I'm like, all right, God, walk me through this. How do I get rid of this? Like, and
this is what we talked about in Bible study this morning.
Yeah.
Is that for most people, Christianity has only been whittled down to this one little thing.
Yeah.
You and your sin, and how do you get rid of it?
Yeah.
And you don't realize that your sin is attached to your idolatry.
Yeah.
Your idolatry is the original sin. You want to go all the way back to the garden? Why did Adam and Eve choose the way that they did? They wanted a different master.
Yeah.
Satan comes along and goes, God's holding out on you. He doesn't want you to have the knowledge that he has. That's why he said don't eat that.
Yeah.
And they go, I don't want to listen to that. That sounds awfully oppressive. And just like when I was a teenager and I thought, man, my church sounds awfully oppressive. They don't want me to drink or cuss or have sex before marriage. This sounds so oppressive. Let me run to the world so I can be free. And when I ran to the world, all of those things enslaved me.
Yeah.
I was never free. And so Satan plays that same game with Adam and Eve in the garden. Hey, God's holding out on you. See, true freedom is when you worship yourself. And so Eve goes, well, I want to do that.
Yeah.
So that's been the narrative of the story from the beginning, is how do you convince the creation that the Creator should have their utmost affection?
Yeah.
Because that was the original sin, is that, sorry, God, you're not good enough for me. I want to be my own God. And then, boom, what happened? Oppression and exile. They get sent out of the presence of God. Every time, this is what you see with the people of God over and over. Like this whole theme of exile, God doesn't exile Israel in the Old Testament arbitrarily and just goes like, well, here's your punishment. No, it's been the same punishment since the garden. He sends them further away from his presence, sends them further away from his presence, sends them further away from his presence until ultimately he comes to deal with the sin issue. Because again, I'm never going to say that sin's not a big issue. I'm just saying it's not the only issue that's dealt with in the Scriptures. To deal with the sin issue, ultimately crushing the idols to show you that he's a better master, because he'll come and do everything that's needed for you to make your way back to him, whereas those other idols won't sacrifice for you. Your lust ain't going to sacrifice for you. Your money ain't going to sacrifice for you. The person you're cheating on your spouse with ain't going to sacrifice for you. Whatever the hate in your heart won't sacrifice for you. Whatever your sin is, gossip, you fill in the blank, all of that has you in trap, it won't sacrifice for you. But the Messiah shows up, sacrifices for you, and gives you a better master to serve. So the way, if I have to be tethered to something, it might as well be him.
Yeah.
Because he gave himself for me. Right? Whereas none of this other stuff is going to give itself for me. It's only going to destroy me.
Yeah.
It's not going to give itself for me. And again, that's why if you only read the Bible, like most of the Bible will make no sense to you if you don't pull strings like this.
Yeah, yeah.
If all it is about you trying to get rid of your little guilty conscience because, well, the Bible says I'm bad, you're going to miss out on, here's the key to getting out of your sin and out of your idolatry comes from where you worship.
Yeah.
So you're not going to get out of pornography. You're not going to get out of alcoholism. You're not going to get out of lying and hating and whatever it is that you're doing by the means that you're trying because you don't understand how you got there in the first place.
Yeah.
If you realize that it was a worship issue, then you could realize how to get yourself out of it.
Mm.
And that's where most people are messed up. They're trying to white knuckle it. Right? They're trying to just do it in their own power. They don't realize that it's a worship issue, that when Jesus finally sets your heart on fire to be utmost in your affections, then the idols fall away and they don't look nearly as appealing whatsoever.
Boom.
I didn't know we were going there today, but
no. Well,
this is what Ehud does to me. Though. I love this story. Like,
well, I mean,
and I
that's
love
just,
the judges.
Look, that's obviously the Holy Spirit and just leading us and sometimes you just have to say, look, I've got a whole nother chapter that we're going to go through, and we'll just get to it next time.
Yeah, we're going to talk about driving a tent peg in someone's head next time, and I can't wait.
That was the other story. So
I can't wait because it has female leadership in it, and I'm going to be on a soapbox.
Yeah. Please. Is she left-handed too?
No, but she's essentially left-handed.
That would have been like the ultimate.
In that culture, yes, though, because, again, remember, left-handedness is a sign of weakness.
Yeah.
Women weren't seen as signs of strength.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to be the same story.
Oh, yeah.
All these broken, what looks like weak saviors ultimately are pointing towards the ultimate perfect Savior that will come and finally throw off the oppression that you're living in and help you to finally live in the freedom that He has for you.
Yeah. This one's right up your vein. For our mystery meat question for this week, if you could invent a national holiday, what would it be? And so just some preface while you think of this. It's got to be nationally observed, so it's like a federal holiday. You know, people get off for it. And we have to celebrate whatever it is. What would your national holiday be?
Friday.
That's just a day.
I know. No, that's what I'm saying. I think every Friday should be a holiday.
You think so?
Yeah, I think everyone should be off on Fridays. Except for, like clearly that doesn't work for service industry type people. But I'm saying, like, by and large, all these businesses that are open on Fridays.
Yeah.
But are closed on Saturday and Sunday, they should all go to a 4-day work week. Friday should be a holiday.
Why is that?
I just think so.
You just think so?
What's a mystery meat? I don't have to make sense.
Yeah,
I'm copping out like crazy because I just don't care.
I would probably do. So the pastor side of me wants to do a national give to your local church day, and everybody's got to give money to the local church.
That would be nice.
So just one day a year.
Most people will probably tell you that that's every Sunday anyway.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm talking about like for the people that don't go to church.
Yeah.
We need to get them excited about giving to the local church. Or we could do like they have like these nonsense holidays like National Donut Day. Like this stupid like what Hallmark created like a lot of these things.
You hold your tongue about National Donut Day.
It's not a federally observed holiday.
Okay, I'll change my answer then. Donut Day should be federally observed.
I think all the people were like, man, I'm going to vote for Scott.
Yeah.
And then you change
Fridays.
it.
He's like, wait, you're saying every Friday we should have off work? Yes, every Friday.
Or just one day a year.
Now I would like to add to my campaign speech, I would like to add Donut Day as every Friday.
Dude, if there was a candidate who just like said like we're going to be doing like all these different days and that was the only part of his, I'd vote for him.
How much happier though do you think people would be if it was expected that they would work 4 10-hour days and get Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off? Or, and again, if you're in service industry or something that has to be open on weekends, but that you are still guaranteed 3 days a week off instead of having to work 5 days a week and then like if you're,
I think that would be good, and people would be receptive to it if they were still making the same amount of money.
Yeah, no, I'm
but
saying
the
take
reason-
Friday and put it on to the first 4 days of the week. Work
Yeah.
4 really long days.
Yeah.
And then if you could expect 3 days a week, I think the whole morale of the human race would be better.
I believe that there would be people that would be super appreciative that they're able to do things or have the time to do things, because we still live in an era where not everything's open on Friday. So I'm talking about like doctor's appointments and dentists and stuff like that. And for them to be able to still be able to go, because you can't take everybody to have Friday off. Why? Because
again, I said service industry type people, or if you're normally not closed on the weekends, you would still be open, but you would be guaranteed an extra day somewhere else.
I think instead of working 5 days a week, just make it 4 days a week.
That's what I'm saying.
And that way, but make it a period of 3 days that they have off.
Yeah, in a row.
Yeah, in a row. You can't do
I'm
this
telling
like
you,
sporadically.
the whole morale and overall health of the human race would be drastically changed.
Yeah.
I mean, could you imagine if you had 1 day a week that you were not used to, that like you could do stuff around your house?
Oh, yeah.
And then you could actually enjoy Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
Like whatever it is. Or for all of our travelers, you could leave on Thursday like you normally do on Friday and come back on Saturday night like you normally do on Sunday and then not miss church anymore.
Yeah.
See?
People would still do it, though.
Yeah, they would just go longer. But I'm just
Yeah.
saying, this is just in an ideal world. I don't think that this is ever going to happen, although I think that it definitely should.
Yep. I like National Hamburger Day.
Yeah, I would be fine with that as well. I think every day should be a day of some sort.
But celebrate
But
it.
mainly Donut Day. I think today was Donut Day. I had 2 donuts.
Yeah, I had a couple of them as well. It was
If
delicious.
there's more in there, I'm going to have more Donut Day.
I'm going to do $1.50 hot dog at Sam's for lunch. So, hey, appreciate you. Thank you so much for listening. Legitimately, if you found something in this episode that you like, just some kind of revelation happened, or if you just know somebody that just needs to hear this, like literally just share this. It's on Facebook. It's on YouTube. You can copy and paste all the URLs. You can paste it to wherever you need to. You can actually embed it on a website if you want to, or you can go to the Apple Podcast, Spotify Podcast. It's on Stitcher. I think it's on MySpace Podcast. I mean, anywhere that you can find a podcast, that's where it's at. Let somebody know about this, because we're not just knocking off and just goofing off. Yes, we like to have fun, but we want to encourage people in their faith journeys and look at the Bible in a new and exciting way.
Yes.
So, but we love you all. We're praying for you. We hope you have a good weekend, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for listening in with us today. We really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You can also follow us on social media, on Facebook, Instagram. You can also watch the video version of this on YouTube as well. All you have to do is search up the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. From all of us here, we want to say thank you, and we'll see you next week.